Welcome, everybody. Welcome, all our Torah Anytime viewers. Tonight we're learning tonight. Oh, everybody's invited to join us. Everyone is invited to join us at 1601 Quentin Rd every Thursday at 8 p.m. Women only. And a special mazal tov to, I don't know, I'm not going to say her name, but one of the girls that helped set up. But now that we had three, this is something so unbelievable. I find it so fascinating. It has nothing to do with me, I know that for sure. But ever since we started the class, we've had three girls that helped set up for the class, meaning arranging it, putting like all that information, putting out the information, coming early to help set up. Three of them got engaged and got married, and they're so happily. I don't know. I'm hoping they're so happily married. So she's not married yet, but B'ezrat Hashem, she will. If everything should go well. So I don't know if I said it yet on camera before. I don't think I did. But now 3 times is the chazakah. That means if you come to class, doesn't have to be this class. You come to class, you help set up a Torah class, you help spread up Torah. It must be. It's good for something. So, but let's see. We have 2 helpers in the process, so now we can put them on the spot. Put them on the spot. Yeah, pressure is up. That's true. Yeah. Okay. No, B'ezrat Hashem, in the merit, again, like we said before, in the merit of the holy day of Tu B'Av, may everybody who needs a shidduch, everyone who needs a shalom bayit, whatever it needs in anything, should be granted speedily, easily, and happily. Okay, so let us begin. Okay, so we have to explain what's going on over here. I know there are a few people that actually emailed or text message, to ask what's the situation with this class, with the topic. So I think it was 2 years ago. I don't remember actually. I should have probably checked. About 2 years ago, we started a series, the Mashiach series, and what happened is that we stopped. I think 12 classes in. We stopped. I had a few more classes prepared, and then we stopped. Why did we stop? I don't know if I should say that on camera, but I stopped for a particular reason. And I kind of regret stopping. I shouldn't have stopped. I should have finished the topic in its entirety, because I like to finish topics in its entirety, even though it doesn't seem like that when you look at my classes, because a lot of them are just sort of ended up. So what I'm working on now, my New Year's resolution for Rosh Hashanah, is to try to close off the topics that I left open. So one of the topics that I left open was Mashiach. Mashiach we spoke about. There's a lot of things that I wanted to speak about, I didn't end up speaking about. To the extent of how many classes I'm going to do this, I don't know yet. I don't know yet what I'm going to speak about and what topics I'm going to point on, but I do know that I want to finish it. And this week, what I wanted to try to do, being that we gave it, I think it was 2 years ago. Don't quote me on this. I think it was about 2 years ago that we gave it. I want to sort of give I call this class the recap. Even though I could have really called it a crash course, but it's not a crash course. There's a certain things that I want to speak about. Now, one of the reasons that I picked these particular items to talk about today is either A, it's very, very important, or B, these are common questions that I get regarding this topic. So sort of as before we go and continue on with this topic that we started 2 years ago, I wanted to sort of clarify the area so that we don't have questions on the thing. And if you do have questions, here are going to be the answers. It happens to be that it also works out perfectly because we just finished the 13 Principles of Faith. And we just finished proving, the Divinity series just by a year ago, whatever it is. We finished a lot of important series, so I do feel like that does come into play, and you'll see how it comes into play with the things that we talk about, B'ezrat Hashem. Okay, so let us begin. So one of the most important things when you're dealing on Mashiach is the Rambam in Hilchot Shuvah brings down a very, very important concept, that there are certain people that en lahem chelek le'olam haba. They do not have a share in the world to come. Part of those people is hakofrim b'tchiyat hametim ubeviat hagoel. People that go and deny in the resurrection of the dead, and people that deny in the Redeemer, aka Mashiach. People that deny the fact that there's going to be a resurrection of the dead. People that deny the fact that there's going to be a Redeemer. Those people they have no share in the world to come. I've heard. I'm just wondering where it's come from. Okay, so. In any case, okay, so this is a very, very important topic that it's not okay, yeah, I know it's, the Torah speaks about there's a Mashiach, but if you're not very familiar with Judaism, it's okay, then there's Christianity, then there's different concepts, different sects with different messiahs and Mashiachs and things like that. So it is very, very important to clarify it. At the same point in time, there are many concepts that when dealing with Mashiach that you don't really gain much from it. there's not much that you gain from it, because it's sort of like, it's nice information, but like, for example, Rabbi Chanan Spector goes and explains like this: there are many predictions, and we're going to speak about certain predictions that are going to happen. But at the end of the day, we won't know how it will be until it will be. So we could speak about it from today until tomorrow and all different concepts of it. But at the end of the day, we'll see it when it happens. So
one prediction happened like a week or two ago about like the foxes and like
right. So yeah. What? Whatever it was definitely an interesting, definitely an interesting, let's call it situation that did happen. But I'll tell you one thing about the way I spoke a lot about Mashiach, and if you realize, I'm very, very particular not to use the current days and think like, okay, this happened, that means Mashiach is right now coming. There are many rabbis, and B'ezrat Hashem, I want to speak about it today, that speak about like, okay, Mashiach must come by this date, because it says, and they give proofs in the Torah, and they give legit, and everything's like legit 100%, but that's not the way that I do it. So I go based on what the sages said either in the Chazal or what the Psukim tell us in the Torah, and from that you will make your own decision. I am nobody able to say like Mashiach is going to come at this point in time, because I can give you proofs from here, and here, and there's Torah codes and there's this codes, and it says over here in the Zohar it says this, it must be Trump 777, whatever that goes on with all these numbers and things like that, and that's what it's going to be. I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe not. I'm not one to go and decide it, but I'm going to just deliver the information. I'll spread it out for you, and you could, like a buffet, what you want to choose and what you want to take, and then you take it home. That's only the concepts of it, but it's very important that you can't choose as a buffet. Things are going to speak about like tshuva, which is I want to give a whole class in itself just on the concept of tshuva on it. So these are things that you can't choose like a buffet. I'll do tshuva on this, I'll do tshuva on that. I'll save that for later if I have room, and I'll come around for that if it's still fresh. There's certain things that you could, like pick and choose in how you, understand certain concepts, and there's certain things that, you can't. This is the way that it goes. So when we're dealing with Mashiach, first and foremost, we have to understand why we want Mashiach. The concept of Mashiach, people have different understanding of Mashiach and why they want Mashiach. So some people, claim, this is usually the younger generation. The Jews will rule the world, and then we will have slaves, and I don't know what people go on and where they get their information from, whatever it is, and and everybody will bow to me, and I will be a ruler, and I will be a king, and I'll have a palace, and blah 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 blah. That's not why we want Mashiach. If that's going to happen, maybe we'll see. Hopefully, maybe, could be, possibly, depending on who's listening. But there are other people that may want Mashiach, because listen, that's when we can eat what we want, we can drink, we could celebrate. It'll be an awesome time. The Jews will be on top. That's why we want Mashiach. That's not why we want Mashiach. There are some people that want it. Some people want things that are different, and it's not some people. It's like almost everybody. The human beings have a very, very interesting psychological concept that we like something new and something different. And that's, there are certain politicians that utilize this, and they'll call it change, or they'll call it something new, or whatever it is. They'll put certain words out there and be like, I want to see something new. I want to try something new. The whole concept of having a new lease and having a new phone and having a new... We like new things. We like something new because we're bored very easily. Especially in our day and age where, all the therapists and the psychologists and psychiatrists slapped a bunch of letters into back of everybody's names. I'm not talking about PhD and MBA and anything like that. I'm talking about ADD, ADHD, ABCD, whatever, all the other bad letters that you could put together, they put it, there. So we like new things, and we get very, very easily distracted. We hear something new, different. Mashiach, yeah, that'll be interesting. I'll watch that show. That's not, I'll subscribe to that. So you think about it, that's not why we want Mashiach, because it's something, something different. On the, on the flip side, you have some people be like, the guy that cut me off, oh, I can't wait till Mashiach will come. I will show him. The Amalek that failed me in college. Oh, Esab over there, he's going to get payback over here. Oh, you know what the Arabs did, and you know what this did? It's not because we want revenge. It's not because we're going to live. Why do we want Mashiach? We want Mashiach so we'll be able to, it's a spiritual thing. We want it for God. We want it so that we be able to delve in Torah and its wisdom to the fullest extent possible. The purpose of the creation of this world. That's why we want Mashiach. Everything else is a false concept, a false pretext of why we want something. That's not the correct way. And if this is your thought process of why you would want Mashiach, then this is something that needs to be changed.
No suffering also. You need to be like a good reason.
Again, it's better than revenge, but on the pole of like the importance, it's really...
World peace also.
world peace is also nice. Yes, it's also very important. Again, it's not a beauty pageant, right? I'll be like, well, I would like Mashiach for help of feeding all the poor, which is great. I want feeding all the poor. World peace, great. I want world peace also. But that's not the goal. The goal is not that. That is going to be a side effect of what happens. For example, there was time of world peace. Look at the time of before the Dar Flaga, before the Tower of Babel. Okay, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? I should try to translate it in English. Okay, so now there are many times in history that there was world peace per se. I'm not talking about world peace that they explain now. It was not technically it was also like that in the Shlomo's time to a certain extent, but I'm not talking about world peace where it's like everyone's smiling and be like, yes, hi, how are you? I want you to die right now and don't hurt it, and yes, I love you too. What am I talking about? United Nations? Whatever. It doesn't matter. We don't have to throw out names over here. So, but it's not. That's not the concept of that we're referring to. Of course, we want world peace and we want everybody to be healthy and happy and live a long life. The whole world, only the good to happen to everybody. That's all we want. But the ultimate goal, why is this so important? Because the ultimate goal is not this world. If you're thinking of Mashiach for the benefits of this world, then it's a little bit, on the wrong path. I'm not saying it's completely on the wrong path. It's a little bit on the wrong path because there are many, many more important aspects that need to delve over here. God can make world peace easily. God can make everybody, there's a reason, and there's a rhyme and reason for everything that happens, to everybody as a whole and to everybody as an individual. Why certain people are not as healthy as others. Why are certain people have, not as financially stable as others. I'm trying to be very neutral over here if you're trying to see how I'm breaking my teeth over things. There are different situations which could easily be resolved by God, but there's a reason why it's placed over there. And the reason is not, when Mashiach, no, there's a reason why everyone's going through that. And this is actually something that I do want to speak about, why people, go through, why they go through, and the suffering that unfortunate people go through. But before we get into that, we have to discuss a few concepts. And one of them is when we understand that we want Mashiach. And it's not because we know there's a song, we want Mashiach, and not because there's somebody heading fires, Mashiach now, and there's not, we want Mashiach, again, for the spiritual reasons behind it, to be able to serve God, but there's more than that. The Gemara on Shabbat tells us, the Gemara on Shabbat, page 31a, says that when you get up to heaven, after 120 years old, they're going to ask you a few questions. They're going to ask you, did you go in business honestly? Did you go and did you involve in procreation? Did you go and tzipita li'yeshua? Did you anticipate salvation? And this is something we spoke about before quite a few times, but it's important to give a little bit of a different understanding based on the class that we're giving today on what does it mean to anticipate the Mashiach. Anticipate the Mashiach meaning that you're waiting for it to happen. Not like a concept, Mashiach would be nice. Mashiach, that would be really, really nice. I mean, anticipating means like, I can't wait. Mashiach is coming. Like the second that you hear a loud horn, you'd be like, you grab your suitcase and you run out. I heard there was a clip, maybe this is the time that I could, I think it was a daily dose from Torah Anytime. I know I've been spilling you guys on this, but Rabbi Ari Ben Shushan said a fascinating story on it, that there was once a guy, and I'm saying it by memory, I did not prepare this, so I might say the details wrong. Go to Rabbi Ari Ben Shushan if you do want to find the full details of it. But there was once a guy in yeshiva that wasn't, had a very hard time getting married. And after, he got on in the years, and then finally he got engaged. And when he came to the Beit Midrash, all the people saw him and they were learning. They stopped learning. They started dancing with him, and they said they were so happy. The whole Beit Midrash was dancing. There was a rabbi in the back that came out with a suitcase. He's like, what's going on? He's like, and they were like, he got engaged. This guy got engaged. And the rabbi's like, it's just you. He's like, okay. And he walks away and be like, I thought it was Mashiach. I thought everyone was dancing. I thought it was Mashiach. And I love the way that Rabbi Rabbi Shushan goes and he says, what's a fascinating thing? Is this rabbi had a suitcase. He had a suitcase ready in yeshiva. It wasn't even a house. He had everything ready. You know what is the anticipation of Mashiach? That's meaning anticipation of Mashiach means that you're anticipating it, that you're like, is he here? Is it coming? Like you're going on vacation, it's like, like assuming you're planning a crazy vacation. You're going around the world on a sail, I don't know, whatever it is that you like. Some people sort of, that's not a vacation for some people. Some people are like, when am I going to shower next? Let's say you're going on a $50,000, month vacation. That's probably not a lot. I don't know. A lot of money, right? $500 million, whatever it is, a lot. a lot of money. You're going and you're traveling around the world, paid for by the Trump administration. Why not? And you get to go, and it's like you're going in a certain amount of time. Are they gonna, you're gonna be asked and be like, so are you excited to travel first class around the world and see all the luxuries of the world? Be like, oh yeah, all right, I forgot about that. Yeah, when am I going again? Like, oh yeah. No, you're gonna be like, yeah, it's gonna be in 43 days, 6 hours, and 12 minutes. Wait, how long are we talking about? No, 11 minutes. So you're anticipating is that you're waiting for it. There's an anticipation for it. That's really what we need to do. Rabbi Yehoshua Levinstein goes and says that only those that anticipate the Geula, that anticipate the redemption, will merit to see it. This concept of anticipation is very important. Anticipation of the Mashiach is very important. But at the same point in time, you have it be like, okay, we've been waiting for so many years, and it still hasn't come yet. So how long can we anticipate it? So the Chafetz Chaim goes and gives a mashal, a parable, that says that let's say there's a person that is sick, and he's waiting for the doctor to come and give him his medicine. And every time someone knocks on the door, he jumps, and he runs to the door, and it's the mailman, it's the delivery guy, it's all this. And he's like, oh, come on, he's waiting for it. But do you think that after all the knocks, he's gonna, he's opening the door already 10 times, he's gonna give up hope on the doctor? He's like, no. He says every knock brings him closer to the salvation that he's looking for, to the doctor giving him the medicine that will heal him. So the same point in time when we're dealing with Mashiach, and we're saying, okay, it's been so long, and where is he? Be like, every time that he hasn't here yet, it's all that closer to where he's actually coming. That Mashiach is actually coming. So the anticipation should not decrease, it should increase, that it's coming out, it's coming closer and closer. The important aspects of the aspiration of Mashiach is that when you aspire for something, when you want something, when you strive for something, it shows you who you are as a person. So when you're driving for something, if your goal, if comes Rosh Hashanah or Lahavdil, you can't even say that. There's like a billion, gazillion, is, Rosh Hashanah, and you make a resolution and be like, first resolution, I'm going to lose weight this year. Be like, so that's what's important in your life, your weight. But if your first resolution is like, no, I want to pray better, I want to be more modest, I want to learn more, I want to do this, I want to do that in the spiritual realm, that shows what you strive for and what you gain for. When you go, it's a very dangerous game to play, but I'll tell you like this. So because I have a bunch of people that come over to me and we speak about dating, we speak about different things, and about marriage and things like that, I thought I wanted to create like a card game. It's going to be called Shidduch dating, or that. Somebody might steal it. It's fine, do it.
They have one, I think.
Oh, they do have it? Where you have certain things, it's basically one-liner that basically brings out conversation.
Yeah.
But then there's certain things will be like, well, listen, if the card said it, you want to ask some questions, but you can't ask some questions, so then the card asks, so it makes things a little bit easier to relate to. And one of the things is like, if you had 3 wishes, quickly, within 5 seconds, what would it be? Quickly, so what is it when you put someone on the spot? So they'll be like, money, skinny forever, I don't know, I could eat 1,000 kilos of fat and nothing will happen, and health, whatever it is. So what does that do when you put someone on the spot? That tells you what they're anticipating, what's the purpose of their life. If they'll be like, easy is modesty, marry a righteous person, and have righteous children, it will tell you very different than the person that'll be like, multi-billionaire, skinny forever, and a mansion. Well, a multi-billionaire mansion. Okay, whatever. Whatever it is. So, it tells you a lot about the person. So, when you go and you anticipate something, it tells you also about yourself. If you're going and you're anticipating the fact that either you're getting a new job, or either you're leaving your old job, or you're retiring, or, whatever it is in the physical world, then it shows you what you strive for. I'm not saying that it's bad to anticipate good things. You should anticipate. You won the lottery and whatever it is, it's good to anticipate good things. But if that's your sole focus in life, then it really shows where your center is. So when we're anticipating for the Mashiach to come, what we're doing is we're really showing where our focus is, who we are and what we are doing in this world. Now, when dealing with the end of days, the Chachamim tell us, the Chazal tell us, is known as Chevlei Mashiach. Chevlei Mashiach is the troubled times of when Mashiach comes, and it's very, very interesting. I want to run through certain things. I'm not going to dwell on some things. I may or may not, depending on what happens in God's realm, and that has nothing to do with me, if I'll go and delve on these more in a later class. But there are important aspects that I did want to quickly go by. Now, the time of when Mashiach comes is a secret. We don't know when Mashiach is going to come. But there are signs when this will be more applicable. Mashiach is very close. It's at its doorstep. It's Chevle Mashiach. It's the footsteps, the doorsteps of where Mashiach is actually coming. So there's a few things that the sages tell us. Number one is that there will be inflation. Inflation means that prices go up. Prices go up. We see that. I don't even have, a lot of these things I could just say it and you already understand it. I really don't want to spend a lot of time because we have a lot of other things that I do want to speak about. But inflation, you'll see the prices go up. You'll see also that there'll be many people that are begging and people are not going to take pity on them. And then you see that all the time. You have so many people. What it could be is because desensitization. People get desensitized. If you're going and you, well, that also, unfortunately, I have a story with that as well. But at the same time, people get desensitized. So you have somebody that's going and asking charity. All right, okay, fine. I'll give you a quarter. I don't give you anything. It's like it doesn't. We don't move. There are people that are suffering, and people are still not jumping around to go and help them. Obviously, the Jewish nation is an amazing nation, and it goes and it helps all its brothers and sisters. But there's so many people that are begging, and unfortunately, I'm speaking to myself also. We get desensitized. We get desensitized with these things. Furthermore, the next thing is that the righteous people shall be despised. The pious people, the tzaddikim, are despised. Be like, oh, okay, oh, he learns all day? Wait, so he doesn't work? So what does he do? How does he get money? Oh, people, you pay him? Oh, like, oh, really? Oh, what a lazy person. Like, we despise the people that their focus in life is, let's say, the righteous.
And mock them.
Unfortunately. I won't go that far, but I hope not. But it can be. Furthermore, also, the truth will be abandoned. People search for falsehood rather than the truth. I could give an entire class just on this. This entire... And I could tell you 2 words that will sum it all up. Social media. And again, truth will be abandoned. People only go after falsehood. The young will insult the old. Again, I could tell you it in 2 words. Social media. People say, there are family breakups. I could sum this up in 2 words. Social media. But again, this is not a social media. This is not a social media thing. Right. So there's also going to be a lack of scholars. I could sum this up in 2 words. TV and movies. Okay, no. Okay, so yeah. TV, movies. Okay. But there's also going to be a succession of, and if you want to look it up, you can look at the Gemara Sotah in page 49b. There's going to be a success. Well, I don't think it doesn't say. I don't know. I know it doesn't say social media on it, but okay, that's my own little addition. There's going to be a succession of troubles and evil decrees, one after another. There's going to be troubles. There is going to be a famine. There's not going to be enough food. There's going to be epidemics of terrible diseases. There's going to be poverty. There's going to be international confrontations of nations provoking and fighting against each other.
Oh, that's fine.
Well, there's everything. Everything I said here is like check.
Yeah.
Wait, you reading the news? What's going on over here? Like check. This is the Gemara Sanhedrin. Page 98a says that if you see a generation that is overwhelmed with many troubles, one after another, await from Mashiach. That's when Mashiach is coming. If you see nations that fight against each other, look to the feet of Mashiach. Look to Mashiach is coming, very close. The Rambam, Maimonides, says in Igel Teman, he says that the exiles will, when it becomes lengthy and there's many troubles that befall us, people will leave the religion. People will leave the religion. It's not us. We don't get enough education. Whatever it is that they, whatever. They did, and we'll speak about World War II. Right, we'll speak about World War II. Very, very true. The Rambam goes on and writes that at the end of days, with all the troubles, one of the focuses that we need to do is on belief and like emunah, like on belief and the truth. And he goes on and says that it's very important to teach the women and children these concepts. So they will, and this is you're talking about 1,000, like almost 1,000 years ago. The Rambam wrote this that when there wasn't, Bosham today, you have women's classes. Back then, you didn't have that, the women's, women's classes as we have today. So he said it's very, very important to teach this to women and children because they're going to have a lot of questions, and it's very important that these questions are answered. That they will have good belief, and the questions will be answered. The Chafetz Chaim writes that says that don't be surprised when you see those that deny the Torah will be successful, because this is also part of our test and the trials for the time of the Mashiach comes. And it's very interesting because it will be very difficult at this point in time to remain strong in faith and emunah. Even people that are religious, people that were I speak to people and people have, and I'm not saying that they're wrong. These are thoughts that pop into people's head that people say like, okay, so where's God? Like, why is God doing this to me? Like, after all this, it's very, very difficult to remain in faith. And even more so, you're going to have leaders, unfortunately, that will preach falsehood, that will go and they'll teach the wrong Torah, they'll teach the wrong things, and they'll go and they'll say, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do that, this is really a stringency, Shabbat, modesty, whatever it is that they're going to go and give on. And that is why, something very interesting, I heard a very interesting interpretation, Chavlei Mashiach, Chavel, anybody who speaks Hebrew, is a rope. Is like a rope. A rope, if you want to go and climb, you have to sometimes, if it's windy, you have to hold very, very tightly to the rope. Before Mashiach comes, why is it not Chevlei Mashiach, like the ropes of Mashiach? Because you're going to have to hold very tightly. If you want to hold onto your faith, you have to hold very tightly during that time. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be going off. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be coming on. It's going to be a very, very windy and turbulent time. There's going to be a lot of suffering, a lot of issues and problems, and then a lot of greatness. There's going to be issues coming from all angles. If you want to hold on, you have to hold on very, very tightly if you want to stay a kosher Jew. Now, it's very interesting as why the Chachamim told us about this. Like, why do we need to know about this? Let us deal with it when we come. Why did this have to be in the Gemara? Why did the sages have to go and tell us all these problems that's going to happen, what we should expect, all the issues that we're going to have to deal with, and these are not, fun issues to deal with. Why did the Chachamim tell us that? So, one of the reasons is that you can't compare somebody who anticipates and knows that there's something's going to happen to somebody that doesn't know that something's going to happen. If somebody is aware that it's a test, it's much easier to pass than somebody who's aware that it's not a test. So if let's say somebody's at work working for a let's call it a stock. I don't know. People. Okay. Well, let's use this example as what popped into my head. Like a stock brokerage firm, like a big, let's say a hedge fund that goes and uses the money to go and make more money. I don't know how to explain in layman's terms. Just like, think about like a Wall Street type of business. And people that are familiar with Wall Street businesses, there are a lot of legal ramifications that you need to do with that. If you're going into stocks, you can't have there's like certain knowledge that you're allowed to have, you're not allowed to have prior to that. You can't have insider information. There's all insider trading. There's certain things. Now imagine there's a big hedge fund that goes and wants to check out its loyalty to its of its employees, and they go and they arrange to make like a make believe that the SEC comes in, the government comes in and goes and audits everybody. Says, okay, where did you get the information for this stock? Where did you get the information? Show me all your papers. Show me all that. Like they want to test them. So some of them will say, I don't want to tell you anything. Show me a lawyer first. Some will be like, I'm so scared. Okay, here's what I have over here. Here's what I have over here. I'm sorry, I did this thing wrong. I did this thing wrong. So they want to test them. So sometimes they'll go and they'll create this whole like scenario to see how they are, how they will succeed in that type of situation. So imagine somebody is stuck in the interrogation room, and he did something, let's say, that wasn't 100%, let's call it kosher. And he's sitting over there, and he's nervous, and he's like, oh my God. He's like, it's like the government's right outside. They could lock me up. They could put me in prison. Who knows what they could do. And they don't know what. And then the door is left a little bit open. It's left just a tad bit open, and he sees through the crack that the boss is talking to one of the FBI agents. And be like, wait a minute. He's like, okay, this guy does this and this. Ask him these type of questions. They're like, wait a minute. Is this a test? He's like, oh, okay, there's a test. All right, no problem. I got it. And the guy comes in and says, like, I'm not telling you anything. And the FBI agent is telling you, I'm going to send your kids to prison. I'm going to send your grandchildren to prison. I'm going to lock up your money for generations to come. You're going to be amazed. Whatever it is, he is going on and be like, you got nothing on me. What changed? Beforehand, he was nervous, right? He was so nervous he was going to give them everything. But the second that he realized that it was a test, he'd be like, oh, wait a minute, it's a test. This is not real. If this is not real, then I'll be able to handle it. If you go through life realizing that this is a test and this world is not real, the real world is in the next world. So it's all of a sudden be like, wait a minute, this is a test? I got this. Okay, no problem. You're able to handle things differently. So the sages put the information on it because when you see these things happen, realize this is a test during the end of days. These are a test that you have to go and you have to, oh, it's a test? Now you have more of a chance of being able to succeed. And you look at it, and this goes even more, let's call it darker, with the war of Gog and Magog, the final war, we could call it World War III per se, but the war of Gog and Magog, the Vilna Gaon brings down that says that this world is going to last 12 minutes. Now the Vilna Gaon lived about 200 years ago. There was no atomic bombs, there's all hydrogen bombs. Like what war could last? You're talking about with bow and arrows and knives and maybe one of those, what is it called, those single handle, those shotgun, the guns that muskets, whatever it is, right? I don't know what it was during those times, but they didn't have automatic weapons. They didn't have these nuclear bombs. They didn't have the weapons that we have today. But yet, he said, what? That's going to last 12. How is it possible to have any war last 12 minutes? nuclear war. It's possible. How did the Vilna Gaon know that? So there's a pasuk in Isaiah, chapter 26, verse 20. It says, "Chavi kime'at rega ad ya'avor za'am." Wait, hide. Put away for a moment until the wrath passes, meaning that the war is going to be very quick. It's going to be very quick. And it says in Zechariah, chapter 14, verse 12, it says that that the flesh will waste away while he still stands on his feet, and his eyes will waste away in their sockets, and his tongue shall waste away in its mouth. Now, what does that mean, this wasting away? The Rashi says this means the falling off of limbs. This is like a different type of warfare. You're talking about, this is like radiation. This is nothing that they had in those days, that's for sure. So, the pasuk furthermore says in Yechezkel chapter 38 verse 21, it says ish that every man's sword will be against his brother. And the pasuk in Zechariah goes on further and says in chapter 12 verse 4, it says the horse and rider, they will be stricken with blindness and with madness, that they will lose the understanding of how to fight battle, how to fight the war, and they'll end up fighting against each other. And they'll end up taking it. So there's certain concepts over here that makes no sense when this was said. The prophecies, when these were said, makes absolutely no sense. But today, nowadays age, it makes perfect sense. Imagine you have, unfortunately, I don't want to give any ideas to any, I don't know, we're having any of these countries that are listening to my classes and be like, you know what, that's a good idea. Let's bomb this U.S. with this type of thing. But let's say, God forbid, you have chemical warfare that is filled with like a heavy cloud. Now, if somebody's at war and they're known to fight certain war and they're not ready for it, and they see all of a sudden a dust of like chemical warfare, they're just like shooting in every direction. They're going and they're running. They're trying to save. They're not thinking straight. There's so many things that didn't exist in those days when this was written, when this was mentioned, when this was brought down, that it makes perfect sense in our day and age, and it makes perfect sense of what we're dealing with.
Will any of the Jews be like harmed by this? Because like if there's like nuclear war that like affects, like,
there's an opinion that says that just like there was only a fifth of the Jews that left Egypt, so too is in the time of the end of days. Only 20%. Who is worthy? People that come to Thursday night classes. I know, I don't know. So it's going to be people that follow the Torah. People that follow the Torah. Who is worthy? It says if you want to be saved in the time of Mashiach, in the time of the Chevle Mashiach, you have to do two things: Torah and Gemilut Chasadim. You have to do good deeds, and you have to learn Torah. But again, it's talking about a very, very serious time. Rav Yaakov Yisrael Kanievsky goes and says that we have passed the most of Chevle Mashiach was passed. When was that? In World War II. That was in World War II. And
That could be like one of the
could be. It could be. We'll try to have an explanation. So the Rabbi Yehuda Plan goes and he said in the name of Rabbi Elchanan Wasserman, who says the name of the Chafetz Chaim, he said that the world, the Gog and Magog is going to be threefold. There's going to be World War I. Then after a certain amount of time, 25 years if I'm not mistaken, he said that it was going to be World War II. And then there's going to be a World War III. And each one's going to make the other one look like baby child's play. So it's going to make, and after that is when Mashiach is going to come. However, it's something very important to know, that the birth pains, the Chevle Mashiach, is not unavoidable. Not unavoidable, double negative, which means it could be avoidable. Right, so I said it right. So it's not unavoidable. So the Gemara in Sanhedrin says, like we said before on page 98b, that if you go and if you do Gemilut Chasadim, if you do acts of kindness, and you learn Torah, this will help you saved during that time. But there's also there's other important aspects of why this issues that are happening in the time of Mashiach. So there's something known as a tikkunim. Tikkunim is like, think of it as like fixing issues that you've had in your soul. And well, in this life also, we don't have to go so far back. One of the reasons for these are reasons for the sufferings that go about. The Maharal goes and explains that the purpose of a person being in this world is to do good deeds, to do the mitzvot, the commandments, and by doing that, you have this stronger connection to God. Now, if you do a sin, that sort of separates that connection from God. So you have two things. The mitzvot bring you and God together, the purpose of what you hear. The mitzvot separate it. Now, every sin separates it. Every mitzvah brings it closer together. When the person goes through suffering, this sort of cleanses that separation that they cause upon themselves through the sins that they have committed. Again, it could be this life, it could be a previous life, but let's use this life for the easier to understand the concept. Now, we also have to say, like, what about the righteous people? The righteous people also suffer. Why do the righteous people, go with that? So not only bothering me, right?
Yeah.
It's going. Okay. So the righteous people, why do they suffer? So the Jewish people are they're one nation. We're all connected. Can't say related because that's true also, but we're Kol Yisrael Aravim Zeh Lezeh. We're all connected to one another, meaning that if one person does something bad, it affects me, and if one person does something good, it affects me as well. That's why there's no such a thing in Judaism as mind your own business, because it doesn't work that way. Your business is my business. Now again, that doesn't mean I have to not look through your windows at night and be like, then it will be very appropriate to dial 3 numbers. And those numbers are 911. And be like, there's a guy outside my window telling me not to turn on the remote. It's for the air conditioning I'm talking about, right? So when you're going and when you're dealing with people that they say, okay, this is my life. Okay, it is your life. You're right, but we're all related. We're all connected, and the righteous people sometimes suffer for the entire nation. For the entire nation, as a whole. The sages goes and tell us that also that what happens if, let's say, a righteous person goes and suffers, not for himself, but for the nation. So is that fair? Is that right that they should suffer for that? And God says, don't worry about it. They get taken care of. They get rewarded for all that. So if God tells you, don't worry about it, I'll take care of you, you'd be like, where do I sign? Whatever it is, when you haven't, to that. Again, we don't want suffering on us, and we don't want suffering on the entire Jewish nation. But if for a righteous person on the level that he or she is, and they get the suffering, and it's not even for themselves, for everybody else, they get duly rewarded for that as well. The Kabbalist also goes and says that there are 2 ways to go and to cleanse, to do these tikkunim. Either you do something that is called tshuva, you self-improve yourself, and then you don't have to go through the suffering, you don't have to go through these issues, or you go through the suffering and you get cleansed from these things. So basically you have 2 paths. The path is depending on how you want to go. You want to go according to the path that you want to fix yourself, great, easy, you go and you fix yourself, and any suffering that was supposed to come would all of a sudden, decrease of what you needed. You don't want to, you want to play hardball, fine. At the end of the day, these 2 paths lead to the same location. Sometimes you get both. It's only in God's hand. But generally speaking, we're putting it in a very, very generalized way that there are these 2 paths, and technically these paths do intertwine at times. The Chavetz Chaim goes and explains that when Mashiach comes, the world is going to be at a complete stage. It's going to be a stage of completeness. Now, at this stage of completeness, there are some accounts that need to be settled. There's some delinquent payments, let's call them, that need to be paid up. So these things will have to be paid up during that time. Now, again, we cannot say the reason for the Holocaust or what the purpose of the Holocaust was, and because we're not God and we are not God's accountant, that's for sure. But there is, an understanding, and it's a very important concept in Judaism, that everything that God does for the best. And here we could begin to understand some ideas of why possibly things happened the way that they did. Now, when a person goes through these troubled times, let's say it's before Mashiach comes, or even in their own personal lives, and they don't want to relate it to Mashiach, a person has to never give up hope. Never give up prayers, never give up the path they need to go on. In the same concept, you have a person that's sick and they need to get better, and they go to a doctor, and the doctor gives them very, very bitter medicine, very terrible medicine. For example, chemotherapy. Chemotherapy is very, very difficult to go through, or radiation is also very difficult to go through. And people go through them. Why? Because they know it's ultimately for their benefit. Even though that right then and there it's very, very difficult, they're going through suffering, but they know ultimately it's for their benefit. So too when someone goes through suffering in this world, people have to realize, again, we don't wish on anybody suffering. No, on anybody. No, the entire everybody should only have good. But when suffering does come, we have to realize that God only does something for the benefit. And Rabbeinu Yonah goes and explains that one of the character traits of tzaddikim is that when they pay their dues, they know how to praise God with happiness, with full happiness. Meaning that, let's say somebody goes and works for somebody for 6 months, works non-stop, and after the 6 months, the guy says, thank you very much, it was nice seeing you, have a good one. And you're waiting for your big paycheck. Nothing, you didn't get paid for 6 months. But then you leave and you're singing and you're dancing. And people ask, I don't understand, why are you not upset? You worked for 6 months like a dog and you didn't get paid? And be like, you know how much money I owe this guy? So this 6 months was nothing compared to what I owed him. Now I'm debt free. He says, have a great life. That's it. We're done. He says, imagine that. That's a great reason. Even though you didn't get paid for it, even though what it appears that you work for free, but really what happened? Really, you had a cleansing of all your debts. So when you're thinking about the sufferings and the tribulations and the troubles that people go through before Mashiach comes, there is always a positive and a negative way to look at anything in life. And the morale goes and says that any transition in life is always involving with Yisurim, with suffering. You look at even simple things from going from winter to summer and summer to winter is, the people go through suffering. When I learned this, the first thing that I don't think this is what the Maharal was referring to, was allergies. And I don't know if that's what it was, but it appears to me that allergy is something that's more common nowadays. And I may be wrong in this, but it's true. I don't know what the referring to that he was dealing with when dealing with the suffering between the seasons. But we see that nowadays. The fact that people, it's difficult to have the transition, even when the transition is for the positive. Let's say you love the summer, it's going from winter to summer. It's still positive. It's still a little difficult. Another good example is
slowly it goes through spring and
not if you're in America, not if New York.
Like 5 days.
In New York, in the morning it could be snowing, and in the evening you could already go swimming. Right? It's ridiculous. I've seen it change so much. I'm like, New York, it's just like its people, bipolar. So, and it's very fascinating. New York tells you to always have faith in God because whatever they tell you is always not true, and so, whatever. Different class in itself. But another thing that we see the transition is you look when a child transitions to adulthood. We call this transition suffering. Teenagers, and teenagers go through a lot of difficulties. It's like, I'm not talking about the fact that you're speaking like this one day and then the next day you're like this. For a man, okay. But there are many difficulties when you think about transitions. When you think about going from, let's say, an old job to a new job. When you think about going from not married to married. When you think about moving from one place to another, the transition period is very, very difficult. So too the transition period between no Mashiach to Mashiach. It's a difficult transition. Then that's just the basic understanding of the world. However, a very, very important concept. In fact, one of the most important one is that there is no need. This is not a requirement that the people have to go through the suffering. It's not a requirement. Meaning that if the Jewish nation goes and returns to God, they do tshuva and they return to things that they need to do, then there's no need for it to happen this difficult way. And there are many, many different, angles to look at this. For example, Yishmael, at the end of the day, is going to be suffering from the children of Yishmael. Yishmael is you break those words as Yishma-kel. God will listen. That the children of Ishmael will cause the Jewish nation so many problems that the Jewish nation will scream to God and God will listen. Similar to what happened in Egypt. In Egypt, when the Jews ran away escaped Egypt, and they escaped, they left. They walked out of Egypt in broad daylight, and they walked, and then the Egyptians chased after them, and they were stuck with the sea on one side, the desert on the other side, and the Egyptians on the other side, and they had nowhere to go. What did they do? They turned into God into prayer. And all they turned God into prayer, and then everything opened up for them. Literally, the sea opened up for them. So too, in the end of days, there's a very, very important concept of prayers, during these times. The Chafetz Chaim wrote that many troubles that have fallen upon the Jewish nation, and we have not been saved, is because we don't scream and increase in our prayers. And because of that, we've returned empty-handed. And this is something that we need to do. Now, on the flip side, even though we have all these troubling, predictions and prophecies that will happen in the days, there's also positive prophecies that would happen as well. For example, there will be prosperity, there will be wealth during this time. Now, it's something very interesting if you think about it. In one place, the sages tell us that it's going to be poverty, and another place it's going to be wealth. Decide, is it going to be poverty or is it going to be wealth? And the answer is it a conflict? We see this in our days. You have both. You have people that have both. You have, at the same point in time, you have people that, Baruch Hashem, and may God bless them, that have a tremendous amount of wealth. And unfortunately, may God bless on the other side also, that they should have the wealth, the people that unfortunately are struggling to survive. And you have in the same block, you have people that are struggling to survive, and you have people that are thriving. So you have both prosperity, and you have poverty as well. You have also, there's going to be a renewal of Torah study. And you think about it, renewal of Torah study, it means we should have so many sages, we should have so many Torah scholars. But where are they? And the answer is, you see the same thing. You see a tremendous amount of people learning Torah. But where are the Torah scholars? Like, where are they pulling it into? Like, where is it going? You have the opening of the gates of wisdom, and this we see also in the secular world as well. The technological advances that we had in the past 200 years was unprecedented, that happened since the beginning of creation. So we have so many different concepts over here that's very interesting, that we see that it all plugs in right to our generation. And now it's not, you have to understand that when you're dealing with prophetic prophecies that dealing at the end of the days, sometimes, I'll give you an example. Let's say somebody's very into astrology, and they look at their zodiac. Zodiac is better. They're very into the zodiac, right? Very against it. Do not be involved in it. This is something you should stay away from. But let's say they're into the zodiac and say, today, you're a Cancer, so today you're going to meet someone new. And make sure you smile today because it's going to be an interesting day. Be like, all right, that could be any day. They make it very, very vague. Like, today, you're going to see something that you didn't see before, that you looked at before. Be like, and when you look at it, you see it. The prophecies when the sage said it was very, very particular. Chutzpah is going to increase. That's a very, very particular. The young will disgrace the old, will insult the old. These are very, very particular prophecies that come on. However, there are a few questions that I want to go, and being that it's late, I want to go through them a little bit on the quicker side, that I want to deal with in the end of days. That people ask, a very common question is, be like, if Mashiach didn't come in the time of the Vilna Gaon, in the time of the Arizal, Rabbi Yosef Karo, in the time of the Ramban, in the time of the Rambam, all these, they're going to come in our generation? If they didn't come in them, how could they come in us? So there's two answers. Number one, there's more, I'm going to give you two answers. Number one is the good deeds that they did in the older generation is very different than the good deeds that we do in our generation. Now, even though they were on a lot higher level, and we are on the flip side on a very low level, everything that we do is worth a lot more than it was back in those days. Because we have a lot more distractions, we have a lot more tests, we have a lot more issues that we're dealing with in the test world than they did. Back then, what did you do? After the time was, nightfall came, that's it. Either you went to sleep or you learned Torah. You didn't go buy books. I don't know, maybe what type of, who was an author that wrote books? Because back then books was handwritten. You're going to write Moby Dick every time by hand. Imagine that. The guy's going to go crazy. Even if you get a bunch of Asian children in China to go and outsource it to you can't. So what happened? Oh, you had only the Torah. The Torah is what people learn. So it's very easy. You didn't have you sit in your bed and you go on your smartphone. And it's like 4 hours later, be like, oh my God, I can't believe, what did I do in 4 hours? Or you go, unfortunately, and you have a remote control that's doesn't turn on the air conditioning. It turns on something else. And you're utilizing that. So you have so many more tests that they never had before. So everything good deed that you do nowadays, okay, so think about modesty. You have fashion. In those days, what did you have in those days? What was the fashion? Here's a blanket. Here's a belt. Walk down Paris like this. This is the highest level. That wasn't fashion. Everybody wore robes, right? Tied with rope, and that's it. That's what you wore. That's what you wore. There's no about this is the cashmere. Again, you had the high quality things. What was your sandals, right? It was wrapped around with some leather thing, and you tied it around there so you didn't step on rocks. And we're dealing nowadays. Modesty is a much more difficult to test than it was back then. Back then, the non-Jews were modest. Of course, the Jews are going to be modest. Nowadays, we're not going to speak about it. Okay. So, anyways, the difficulties that we deal nowadays. So, one good deed that we do nowadays, and this is how the Avos the Rab Nosson goes and explains that one thing in distress is better than 100 in ease. That the difficulties that we have now is worth so much more. Another answer that we will give is that we're not doing something that on our own. Like, we're standing on the shoulders of the generation before us, who stand on the generation before them, and so on and so forth. Meaning that, let's say you want to go and you want to move a very, very, those, in Israel they have it a lot, and unfortunately they have to put it in front of bus stops so that the cars, the terrorists don't drive into them. It's like these huge cement boulders, and they have like this little hook over there, and you have you can't move it. You have to get like a special crane that goes and hooks it up and it moves it. Now, imagine you have very, very, very strong people that go and they try to pick it up. They're not going to be able to pick it up. The thing is so heavy that it's unable to be moved unless you have this powerful machine. Now, that's difficult to move. Why? When it's on the ground. But let's say you have a crane that comes and it hooks it in and it lifts it up. You could take a little weakling that just goes leans on it and it just shakes the entire thing. But how is it possible? The strongest man in the world couldn't lift it up, but now this guy who sneezes and his bones break is able to move it. How is it possible? And the answer is because it's being held up by this very strong machine and they're just pushing it. And that's why it's so, the same way during the end of days. We're standing on all the sages before us, all the righteous people before us. They lifted the heavy boulder. All we're doing is that we're that weakling that just like could push it. We could direct it wherever we want because we have the sages holding before us. So even though it may appear that what the sages in the previous days, the time of the Gemara, the time of the Mishnah, the time of the Beit HaMikdash, they didn't bring the Mashiach, but nowadays they lifted the boulder for us. We could easily just move it at this point in time. Okay, so now, we also have to understand that there's a Mashiach in every single generation. Every single generation there's a Mashiach. Now, does Mashiach know that he's Mashiach? Is a question. So some people reach out to me that they are Mashiach. So they know. But in general, not in general, the concept is like this. The concept is that Moshe Rabbeinu goes, more to speak about that. The Moshe Rabbeinu goes and in the time of the Exodus, what? Oh, I have so many that come and say the Mashiach, and they get upset at me. I don't understand. I've been reaching out for you. I told you that I'm the Messiah. I'm going to go and save. I have so much to go and offer the world, and how come? What? I don't need it. I could already tell that I don't need to ask for any signs. Because I could guarantee you, if someone's reaching out to me to tell them that they're Mashiach, Mashiach doesn't need to reach out to me. I need to reach out to Mashiach. Right? It works the other way around. So, but in any case, in the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, he didn't know that he was the redeemer of the Jewish nation. In fact, he didn't want to go. He said, "No, God, you go find somebody else." He didn't even know until he was pushed when he was 80 years old. You're talking about that he didn't live his life like, "Yeah, I'm the Messiah." Oh, just wait, everybody's going to know about me. Moshe Rabbeinu knew nothing about it. So too the Mashiach. Mashiach is also going to be the same concept. And all of a sudden, when the time comes, when God's going to come and says, this is time for Mashiach, then Mashiach is going to have that ability to know that he is Mashiach, similar to the way that Moshe Rabbeinu knew. Now, when you're dealing with Mashiach, there's some fascinating qualities of Mashiach. His wisdom is going to be greater than that of Shlomo HaMelech. Now, you just study a little bit about Shlomo HaMelech, realize what the level of his wisdom was, realizing what we're dealing with. The Mashiach is going to be greater than all the prophets, but not including Moshe Rabbeinu, right? Not all prophets included, but again, maybe we'll speak more about this, but that's the general concept. He's going to have greater stature and honor than all the kings that preceded before him. He will go and he will teach all the Jewish people and instruct them in the way of the Torah. He will reveal hidden mysteries in the Torah that we've never been revealed before. And then not only the Jewish nation, but the entire world, all the nations of the world will recognize him and recognize his wisdom, and they're going to submit to him as a ruler and as a king. Now, how do we know that someone's Mashiach? So it's not because someone's going to say, I'm Mashiach. Hey, by the way, I'm Mashiach, because I could give you a list of people that you could go and interrogate that claim that they're Mashiach. So there's some very, very important concepts. The number one is the Mashiach is going to be a Torah scholar. So this right away knocks off 100% of the people that have come up to me. So they're going to be a Torah scholar. Not the questions that I get be like, so I'm Mashiach, but can you teach me about Judaism? And I'm like, why? Well, this is the type of question that I got a while ago, and I'm still answering these people. Whatever. Okay, so I'm like, no, it's not. That doesn't work that way. And somebody once went over to Rabbi Zamir Cohen. I don't know if I said this over. Someone at the Cohen, like an intelligent, sophisticated person, says, like, I'm Mashiach. It's like, nice to meet you. Like, you're the Mashiach. That's amazing. Do you know the Gemara? Be like, no. Do you know the Mishnah? Be like, no. It's like, Mashiach needs to know that. Finish all of that, and then come to me. Back. It's a nice, easy way to go and say that. Maybe I should start doing that. Telling people after you finish the written law and then the oral law, then come back to me, and then let's discuss of your messianic powers. So. Also, what is Mashiach? How do we know Mashiach? So he's going to be a big Torah scholar. He's going to bring all the people back to Judaism. He's going to physically bring people back to the land of Israel. He will rebuild the temple. During this point in time, we'll speak about it. There's not going to be any conversion. And how do you know that this is actually going to be Mashiach? There's a very, very simple litmus test to know if this is Mashiach or this is not Mashiach. And the answer is, if he gets the job done. If you get the job done, that you're Mashiach. This is what the easiest proof regarding JC. JC didn't do nothing, like zero, in regards to what Mashiach is supposed to do. So, the Christians, what do they have to do? They have to go and they have to start flipping it. Of course, I get comments on that, because when you speak about Mashiach, who listens? Christianity thinks Messiah. Oh, very good. The Christians let's do it. So no, they should know that the JC did nothing. If not, go look at my other classes and take me up on that as well. So, but what do Christianity has to come with? There's going to be a second coming. Yeah. You know why there's going to be a second coming? Where did you get that? Why are you making things up? Like who gives you permission to start making things up? Like, okay, and then there's going to be a third coming and a fourth coming. And then according to your thing, I have 10 messiahs that should be your messiah as well. Oh, they didn't get anything done yet? Okay, they didn't get to the first coming yet. They're still working on it. So, like when they're going, nowhere in the Torah does it speak about there's going to be a second coming. Mashiach doesn't need 2 tries. It's going to come one time. It's not going to go one time and be like, I'll be back. And then they come back and be like, now I got it. I learned from my mistake last time. Now I'm going to get it. It doesn't work that way. Mashiach comes and that's it. There's not going to be like trial 1 and be like, okay, it didn't work, but you better believe. Otherwise, but there's going to be a second coming, so don't worry about it. He's going to come back. He's going to save you all. Huh? There's no second. Well, there is second chances, but not for the Messiah. Messiah. How do you know that Mashiach is Mashiach? Not when he says he's Mashiach, not when he's going to perform miracles, not with anything else. He could feed 500 people, he could turn water into wine, he could walk on water, I don't care what he could do, right? He could go and he could do close-up magic with cards, for all I care. But he's not going to be Mashiach until he goes and he completes the tasks that Mashiach is supposed to complete. And that, there's no second coming, there's no third coming, there's no fourth coming, there's no anything else. It's one shot, one time. That's Mashiach or not. That's it, end of story. So, clear, all right? Okay, good. So, let's see the comments that we'll get to. Okay, so now let's speak about this. What time is it? Okay, it's getting to be a little bit late. So let's go through this a little bit fast. The calculating the end of time, the end of the redemption. Let's go through this fast. So I'm just checking the time. The Gemara in Sanhedrin, page 97b, says that may the spirit of those who calculate the end expire. Now, that's not a good thing. You should not be calculating the end of time. And now, why is it a problem to calculate the end of time? Because if you calculate and say, God, Mashiach is supposed to come by January, blah, 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 2000 and blah, blah, blah. Why is it a problem? Because then what happens if he doesn't come? People give up hope. People go, be like, he didn't come now. Oh, then what's the purpose? Okay, he's never going to come. So you're not supposed to go and you're not supposed to go and calculate the end. But there are very big questions. There are great rabbis that did calculate the end. How could they do that? So let's give a few answers on that. The Bar Benel goes and says that when is this forbidden to go and calculate the end? That's forbidden based on astrology. You're not allowed to go based on astrology and go and calculate the end. But if you calculate the end through other means, not a problem. The Nachmanides, Ramban goes and says, when did this restriction apply to the earlier generations? The earlier generation, the Ramban goes and explains that, let's say you have, a family going and traveling. And children like to ask the question, here we go. Okay, so it's music to the parents' ears because they're removed from their Gehenom. So they go and it's Yisurim, and they go name, are we there yet? No. How long are we going to be till we're there yet? A long time. How are we there yet? No. Are we there? And they get really upset. No, they're not going to be there. I'll tell you when we get there. And then that's the problem we're in the beginning of the journey. But let's say you're driving to Canada, right? Let's say you're driving to Niagara Falls, right? What is it, 9-7 hours, depending how you drive, right? Brooklyn, so it's 3.5 hours. So you go and you think, okay, if you're in the beginning of the journey, the parents don't want to hear about it. But if you're 45 minutes away and the child asks and be like, okay, it's going to be 45 minutes. How long is 45 minutes? Okay, that's another story. They go and they say, if it's closer, it's easier. So the way the Nachmanides goes and the Malbim goes and explains is that in the earlier generations, because Mashiach is going to be very far away, you're not supposed to go and calculate then. But when you're coming to the very close end of times, end of days, the days that we are now, then it's not a problem to calculate it because it's right at the end of the journey. The Maharal goes and explains also what was the purpose of the forbidding of calculating the end, because the HaKadosh Baruch Hu went and he concealed the end. Why? Because when you know the end, that's a little bit of a salvation in itself. When you know, what? It's like exactly,
when to, okay, I'm going to do teshuva,
Exactly. So if let's say God comes to you and says, Mashiach is going to come in 20 years. And be like, wait, 20 years. So I got about 15 years of partying. And then I'm going to fix myself up for 5 years. It's going to be like crazy. Or on the flip side, it could be, let's say it's going to be in 80 years. And of course, Mashiach is coming tomorrow. But I'm saying, when you think about it, when you say, hey, it's in 80 years, be like, 80 years. So you're going to be pushed off, oh, what do I care? So it could turn people off when you're going and you're trying to go and calculate the end.
Surprise is always
The what?
So the element of surprise is always
right. Right. So, but also there's an anticipation. There's a tzipita lishua. If you say that, oh, Mashiach's coming in 20 years, what's the anticipation? In 20 years, I'll anticipate it in 19 and a half years. So the reason why you had Rishonim that go and went and they calculated the end of days is that there's another reason also, is because that the Jewish nation was going through very, very difficult hardships during that time. And they needed a boost. They said, Mashiach is going to come at this point in time. Oh, it's so close. Okay, so then I'll do it. Now we have to understand that. Why would the righteous people go and say that? The righteous people would say, what, are they lying then? Be like, oh, they needed to boost the morale. Be like, okay, so guess what? In 2 years' time, Mashiach is coming. In 1 year's time, Mashiach has got to come. Why would they say that? We have to understand the concept. And to boost the morale, we also have to understand what is the idea behind it. So this is something that I spoke about before, but I want to go a little bit in depth into it based on the questions that I had. I think this is an important topic. The pasuk in Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 22, it says that when Mashiach will come, Be'ita achishena. It's going to come in its time. In its time, I will rush it. I will make it go faster. I'll hasten it. So the question that I asked, these are contradictory statements. In the time, I will rush it. In the time, I'll hasten it. Either it's in its time, or I will rush it. If you're ordering something on Amazon, it's either going to be delivered in your regular prime 2 days, or you're going to go and you're going to go 1 day. It's not going to be like in its prime time, same day delivery. Be like, wait, what is it? Well, maybe they do that. I don't know. But you can't say like 7 to 10 days delivery or next day delivery. Figure it out. You're like, wait, is it 7 to 10 days or is it the next day? So when you're dealing with the pasuk, what does it say? In its time, ba'ita achashena. I will go and I will rush it. So really, it's no contradiction. What is it the pasuk referring to? If the Jewish nation is worthy, then it will come early. It will come achashena. It will come fast. But if not, then ba'ita. Then it will come in its time. So this is the concept of what the pasuk says in Tehillim in chapter 95. It says, when is Mashiach going to come? Hayom im tishma'u b'kolo. If you go and you listen to God and you do the tshuva, then it's going to come. Then it's going to come today. And the Barbanel breaks this down into 3 categories. There's 3 categories. There is a premature time for Mashiach. There is a contingent time for Mashiach, and there's a mature time for Mashiach. So premature time is before Mashiach is unable to come. Then you have the contingency. What's the contingency? If you do tshuva and you follow in God's way, then Mashiach is going to come. And then you have the mature time, meaning that by here Mashiach is the end of the road. But here Mashiach has to come. Ooh, okay, almost finished. You have to cut something short. So now we have to understand something. When was the prohibition? What was the prohibition to calculate the end of days? Was it a prohibition to calculate when it could come early? Or was it a prohibition to calculate when it's going to come the end of days? Says our sages that when it was a prohibition, the prohibition was that you're not allowed to calculate the end of days, meaning that after this date, it must come. This is the final time that it has to come, otherwise, the world is going to be destroyed. That you're not allowed to calculate. You're not allowed to calculate. But achishena, the early time that you could calculate to, and this is really not. It says that Maharal, this is not really a contradiction. Why? Because the sages, even in the earlier generations, they said, Mashiach is going to come in 2 years, or in a year, or in whatever, in a certain amount of time. That's not a lie. Really, it could. That is the time that it could come. Achishena. There are certain times when it's very apropos that Mashiach could come. The power is very strong. The people are doing good. People are good. But if they go and they do the merit that they need to do, they follow in the tshuva, they follow the Torah footsteps, they do what they need to do, then Mashiach is going to come. It doesn't depend on anything else other than them. That's what they calculated. Meaning that it doesn't mean that let's say you have the rabbis and the sages and they say Mashiach is supposed to come in the year ba 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 ba. That year it's really apropos to come. But if it doesn't come, that means that this is the time that it could have came earlier. We messed it up. Okay, then we have to go to the next time. When there are certain times when it's more apropos that it will come. Make sense? Very, very important concept. The Chavetz Chaim wrote that at the same point in time we cannot focus on the calculating the end of times, because even in the time of the Babylonian exile, the prophets told us it's going to be 70 years and then the exile is going to end. And even then, when we knew exactly when it was supposed to end, we still didn't know exactly supposed to end because we didn't know when to start counting from. 70 years from when? Like, what do we count from? This day, count from this day, count from this day. So even when we knew the end of times, we didn't know the end of times. So kal v'chomer shebekal v'chomer, certainly when we don't have the end of times, that if God goes and hides it, don't start making your calculations, because if you never know if it's going to be correct or wrong. At the same point in time, we can understand this important concept that there's also a contradictory statement when dealing with Mashiach. The Mashiach is going to come floating on clouds or riding on a donkey. Now, it doesn't mean that the donkey is going to be riding on the clouds, floating on the clouds. So what? It's very contradictory. Is it going to be on a donkey? It says, "Ani a poor person that's riding on a donkey." Is it going to be a poor person? It's going to be on the clouds. And it says, so the sages goes and explain. It all depends on the merit of the Jewish nation. If the Jewish nation merits it and it brings it earlier because of the merits of the tshuva and the following of the Torah, then it will come supernatural. It will come supernatural and it won't come with all the suffering and the tribulations that the Torah speaks about, that the sages speak about. But if the Jewish nation is not worth it, and it's going to be to the end of days, then the Mashiach is going to come like a ani rochev ala chamo, a pauper riding on a donkey, meaning that it's going to come as an undeserved redemption. It's coming as an undeserved redemption. And finally, one last point I want to speak about is the Gemara in Sanhedrin, page 98, goes and says that the Mashiach is only going to come in a generation kulo zakai or kulo chayav, either a generation where it's entirely meritorious or entirely not meritorious, guilty or innocent. Either a generation that is guilty or either a generation that is innocent. How can it be both? Either it's guilty. Is it possible? You think about it, that the entire generation is going to be guilty or the entire generation is going to be innocent? So there's two answers that I want to give. One of them is from the Shem Mishmol that says that the generation is going to be on two polar extremes. You can have people that are going to be completely righteous, and you have people that are going to be completely wicked, and that's in the generation when it's going to come. Now, I don't want to relate to anything that's nowadays, but whoever knows a little bit what's going on nowadays, that's pretty close. The Chiddushei HaRim gives something fascinating. I love this answer because I deal with people and I could see how true it is. It says, what does it mean that the people are either going to be completely righteous or completely wicked? Meaning that the people would think that they are completely righteous, and that is the greatest falling. Really, they're completely wicked, but they think that they're completely righteous. I've unfortunately spoke to so many people. They think they're the most righteous. They're saving the world. You have people that come to Torah classes, go and they try to convince people not to listen to Torah because they're doing the right thing. They're making people think logically. They're not. They think they convince themselves that they're doing the right thing. You have people that go and they start businesses that are very, very bad businesses for the for the spiritual, and they think that they're doing the right thing. They need to do this. They need to do that. Whatever it is that they claim that they need to do, they claim that they're good. Or you have people be like, I'm a good person. Does it matter if I don't keep Shabbat? Does it matter if I don't keep kosher? Does it matter if I don't dress modestly? Does it matter if I don't learn Torah? I'm a good person. So I'm a good person. So they think that they're a righteous person. Says the Chiddushei HaRim, that is the biggest falling possible, because that's so unfortunate. Because somebody who thinks that they're righteous, somebody that thinks that they're the greatest person alive, they're not going to change. They're going to stay exactly the way that they are. That's the end of days. You're going to have people that are not going to be changed. It's going to be the end of time. God says that there's no more hope. You're never going to change if you think that you're perfect. There's never going to be a change if you think that you're completely righteous. So when we're coming to the end of days, and we definitely are in the end of days, and we're definitely in the time of the footsteps of Mashiach, we're definitely in the Chevlei Mashiach, we have to go and realize why we want it, how do we get it, and what we have to do to achieve that. And it's very, very imperative on each and every single one of us. It's not something in the future, it's something that matters for us right here, right now. It's very important that we understand the concept of believing in Mashiach, and we understand the concept of anticipating, tzipita leYeshua. It's anticipating the salvation. We want to be part of the time of Mashiach, and now we want to be part of the time, whatever it is, depending on how you speak, right to left or left to right. Part time, when we want to be in that when Mashiach comes. But even more so, we want to be in the time when Mashiach comes, that it comes from the good, that we bring it earlier, that we don't have to deal with the Chevlei Mashiach, we don't have to deal with the sufferings of Mashiach, but rather we have to deal with only the beauty and the amazing part of Mashiach.
You think the Third World War won't come?
It's possible, yeah. It doesn't have to go only the bad. In general, you should know that any prophecy that the Torah says that if it's negative, it doesn't have to come to fruition. It's only if the people are not worthy. If the people are worthy, then it's fine. So if a prophet comes and says that there's something bad that's supposed to happen and it doesn't happen, it doesn't mean that they're a false prophet, because it could be that people did tshuva. At the flip side, if a prophet comes and says there's something positive that's supposed to happen and it doesn't happen, then it's a false prophet. So the idea is the Mashiach topic is very important, and B'ezrat Hashem will hopefully clarify a few more important concepts of it. But B'ezrat Hashem we won't need to, because we'll see Mashiach b'mehera b'yameinu, Mashiach coming in the good side, and not from the Chevlei Mashiach. It'll be only from the good, and we'll all be reunited for the loss that we have had, both spiritually and physically. And may we only see the good times and the good things of Mashiach. Let's open up for any questions. And I'm nervous about opening up for questions because I know there's going to be a lot of questions, and it's very possible that I'm going to ask it, but let's open it up. I may or may not answer your questions tonight on it. Yeah.
So maybe we all know that there's a group that believes that Mashiach already came and they kind of reference a religious group, Jewish group. So I'm confused by that. Do you have any answers?
So first and foremost, I have to tell you a conversation that I had. I don't know if I could probably mention the rabbi's name. He's one of the biggest rabbis in Brooklyn. Had a conversation last week, and I was asking. I was asking him a few questions and one of the questions that I came up was what topics I shouldn't speak about. And one of the topics that he said I shouldn't speak about was that one. So, but one of the so we have to understand like this. It's Mashiach is going to be alive, and he's going to, like we said before, Mashiach is going to go, and he's going to. How do we know it's Mashiach? When he finishes the job, that's how we know it's Mashiach. But at the same point in time, every generation there is a Mashiach. There is a Mashiach. To say that he was a Mashiach, very possible. I don't know. I'm not God. I'm not God's accountant. But now that he is no longer around, so now we are awaiting the Mashiach that will, every generation, and the generation that's going to go and complete that, the prophecies and complete the things that the Mashiach needs to complete to.
I mean, it's just as like, it's like Christianity almost. Like they say that Mashiach came. It is. It's just as bad.
So it happens to be it's a very, very small sect. And it's a very small sect that deals with that.
I'm just saying it's like a very delicate subject.
I spoke to people in that sect. I've spoke to Rosh Yeshivas of that sect, and I've had long conversations, and understanding. It was, there's a lot to speak about it, but I won't speak about it for the instructions that I got. And why did the rabbi say I shouldn't speak about it? The rabbi said you shouldn't speak about any topics that separate Judaism. You don't speak about topics that separate Judaism. That sect does tremendous amount of good to the nation. The sect that unfortunately gives itself a bad name and is a very, very small minority sect. But the problem is that some people make a lot of noise, but they're very small, but it makes you think that everybody's like that. It's a very small sect, of them. And generally, the question is that where also is the fault that they are dealing with, and what is it? I'm not saying the people that go and pray to the rabbi. That is avodah. Then you're dealing with avodah zarah. I'm not talking about that. Majority of people do not. In fact, I don't know anybody that does. And I've asked, and people that know me, I'm very blunt.
It's limited. If a person's nifter, that means that they're no longer alive. To say that someone could come back to life on their own, that's saying like that.
I don't know if they say that. I've never heard that.
There's a person. There's no comparison.
Right. So that's like being polite. That's being polite. That's being polite. There are different things that are customs. That's not. I mean, again, there are many different things. I don't want to delve into it because I have a lot to speak about it, but I won't speak about it because I'm not supposed to speak about it. But we also have to understand that when they go and they claim something, you have to understand where the claim lies. So you have to be very careful. We're very quick to judge, unfortunately. And when you delve into it,
we're not judging people. We're judging the concept of the idea that there is a person that could die and bring themselves back to life or something like that.
So most people, in fact, I've never met anybody unless that told me that from that sect. I know we're speaking in code and everyone knows what we're talking about, but
it's very disturbing.
Put it this way, he's a very, very righteous person. I recommend to go to this caver. I think his caver is.
He's a tzaddik, but they're turning in almost like Moshe, like that if Moshe would have been buried in the turn.
Yeah,
they would have turned out, or Yosef.
I was talking about Moshe Rabbeinu, right? So it's true, but they don't. Again, you're not allowed to go. You're not allowed to pray to. You're not allowed to pray to. Yeah, and it's true. There's a lot to speak about. There's a lot of stories that bring about it that the rabbi came in dreams and things at the top, whatever it is. But all said and done, from my research and from the people that I spoke to, and I spoke to not the lower ones. I spoke to people that had yeshivas teaching these things, and the majority of them do not believe in that. The majority of them do, it's a very misunderstood concept when you actually go and you delve into it. Again, so they do a tremendous amount of good. They do a lot of good. If there's a small sect that maybe is a little bit misconstrued, maybe, possibly, and it's just a misunderstanding that they have. Unfortunately, there are many people that have misunderstanding.
There's always different groups that have, among them, people that have weird
concepts. Yeah.
This is totally different, but
thank God.
Marry Mashiach? I'm not looking for
yeah. Put it on your resume. I like long walks on beach and prefer to marry Mashiach. Technically, can Mashiach get married? I have to look into that. That's a good question. I don't see why not. It's not the priest.
How do you measure generation? Like, is the person like 30 now, or like how do you measure the generation? Like, is he the one for every generation, but every generation like?
Oh, that's what you asked, question. Yeah, do they overlap? So there's different. That's an excellent question. How do you measure a generation? How could it be a Mashiach? Because let's say this is a very interesting question. So let's say you have Mashiach is the person that's supposed to be Mashiach is 100 years old, and then he passes away. So then the next Mashiach is supposed to be born, but then let's say he's 0. What are you going to do until 20? Right? Like, you can't be Mashiach at 6 years old or 6 months old. Be like, hey, I'm Mashiach. Because we give those people medicine. So there is the concept is that there are people that are worthy of being Mashiach, and God will tell. So there's very possible that there's 2 people that are alive that could be Mashiach, but one person is going to be Mashiach. When that person dies, and the other person is the worthy, Mashiach. Now again, this is my own understanding of a certain concept, so don't quote me that I may be wrong in that concept, but this is the way that I understood it, and this is also based off a little bit of a concept of the ibu of neshamot. It's like a piggyback of souls in reincarnation. So it's a little bit on the Kabbalistic side and how it works, but that's the way that I understood that question, because I had the question myself.
But also, how long then is the generation? Like, is it 30 years? Is it 80 years?
Doesn't matter. For that doesn't matter. When you're dealing with Mashiach, how long is the generation is a different topic with Mashiach.
Talks like, some people say generation's 30 years, some people say it's longer. So
It could be 15 years. It could be there, depending on what you're asking. If somebody goes and asks me, can I date somebody? It depends. So let's say there's a girl that wants to date, it's very common for girls to date older guys, and in certain communities. So where is a generation where it's like that's too much? So I don't want to throw out a number, but this is a number that I heard a well-respected rabbi say, that's 15 years. 15 years is a different generation already. That's a different concept. Now, in our day and age, right here, right now, it's like I feel like I'm in a much older generation from people that are 5 years younger than me. That's how I feel. I'm like, what do you do? Like, I don't understand the social media stuff and that. I'm a pretty tech savvy person, but I don't understand like the things that, like, the stuff. So again, what's a generation depends on what the question is. Is it for dating? Is it for children? So a lot of these things are self-explanatory depending on how you ask the question. For Mashiach, it's when Mashiach comes in that particular generation in that particular time, and again, it could be moved around.
Is Mashiach like one soul? Like, can it be one soul that's just over every generation?
So let me explain it like this. There's something known as an ibu neshama, and again, I don't want to say that it's 100% related to this, but I want you to understand this concept. I think with this concept, you'll understand a little bit of the concept of where Mashiach can be related to. So there's reincarnation. Reincarnation is a very common concept that a person dies and then comes back into this world. That is one concept of reincarnation. The Arizal goes and brings down, there's a little bit of the other concepts, there's different concepts that are not so common in reincarnation that are known as ibu. Ibu, you think about it as piggyback, meaning that somebody could be alive and then another soul can come and piggyback on that soul. That doesn't mean possession. Doesn't mean you walk in and be like, like all the time. But it could be like you have a great ancestor that comes in and they were, let's say, very careful in a certain mitzvah, and you were also careful in a certain mitzvah, so you have like this certain connection. They could come in and sort of piggyback on you and help you achieve things that you wouldn't have been able to achieve before.
Well,
now,
use it as a tikkun for them. Meaning
they could, but that's for the negative. This, what I'm talking about right now, is for the positive. Sometimes you'll have people that, let's say, they do things that they never thought they would be capable of doing. They never thought they had the power to do. Now, it could be that they did have the power, but it's also, there's another answer that it's possible that they had a little bit of extra help, from behind the scenes.
Hashem could help you. How could another
Hashem's helping you through that. Hashem's helping you, well, yeah. So if you think about that in regards to Mashiach and the piggybacking and that, you could plug in a few simple calculations and it would clarify. Again, this is more in the Kabbalistic realm of things. But there's Mashiach, there's one neshama of Mashiach, but how and when it comes down and when it's going to be revealed, that's my understanding of it.
Someone said he's going to have a spark of Moshe.
Yes, we'll speak about that. Yeah. Yes, we'll speak about that. Oh, that's a class I want to give, the two Mashiachim, yeah. So he's gonna be a prophet. It's gonna be a nevuah.
But he's gonna realize that.
Yes, he's gonna realize. Yeah. I know I'm gonna get a bunch of emails. I just realized it right now. Be like, I know. Me too. Yeah. Just came to me. So yeah, but it's a
What if he doesn't, like,
What if he thinks that he's insane, like he's thinking something?
so yeah. So there are. So then probably if he's thinking like that, when God comes to talk to you, it's not. If you think that you're insane and you hear God, then you're probably insane if you think that you're hearing God. But if it's like a legit type of a situation, then when you're dealing with, we're not dealing with a regular person that is out shooting pool under this fancy tables, right? There's a pool. He's shooting pool, and then he's going to go and be like, "Yes, God." Shh, I'm talking to God right now. Like those type of people. Yeah, go meet a shrink and meet a psychologist. Those people do need help. When you're dealing with people on the highest caliber that they're attached to the to the spiritual world. You look at. Let me use an example. Let's say you're Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky, right? Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky, one of the Gedolei Hadol. You go over to him, he's not in this world. He's attached to another world. You come into him, he already knows things about you. And I could speak from experience and like the situations that I was personally involved in. Like he definitely knows things that he doesn't see. And I can guarantee these are things that it's impossible. And it's not like one of those fake, pastors that they have those headpieces, those earpieces inside and be like, okay, this person over here, her name is Mary. She's 52 years old. She never has children and she has seizures. I'd be like, Mary, I sense that you are having seizures. And then he goes and says, the weird thing is this person is white, right? And he's like, and then he's going to go, and whatever it is, like, you're not dealing with those type of people. You're dealing with somebody that is connected to the next world. Somebody that's connected to Chaim Kanievsky is not going to be like, okay, maybe I need to speak to, like when you're dealing with the righteous at the highest level, these are the people that are Mashiach. So a very simple litmus test. If you're not sure if you're really listening to this and God is talking to you, then go see somebody and speak to somebody professionally or non-professionally, but definitely speak to somebody before you listen to the voices.
Maybe like Moshe, where like Bnei Yisrael doesn't really believe him. Like, hi, I'm here to take you out. They're like, well, we don't
So that's a different question, how it's going to be from the Jewish nation. Again, that's how do we know that's Mashiach? When it completes the mission.
Everybody will know.
But people won't listen, meaning people are so divided.
We'll see then, right?
One of the things that Mashiach needs to do is unite the people and follow in the ways of the Torah. So no reform, no conservative, no secular, no open orthodoxy, no nothing, just plain Jewish, Orthodox Jewish. Any other questions? Moshe is a Levi, but it's a good question. What's going to happen in the times of Mashiach?
No, but that's the beginning.
So maybe I want to give a whole class. Maybe we'll speak about that. One of the main things that I missed out when I gave my other classes was I didn't speak about how the world is going to be like when Mashiach comes. And I find that's a very important concept. I also found that I want to speak about the two Mashiach. I also want to delve a little bit about the prophecies that I only touched upon. So these are some ideas that I may be speaking about. We'll see with God's help. We'll see what we get to.
What about like 1/5 of like
1/5 of generation that they're not going to make it. So again, that depends on how it comes. If if only 20% are going to make it when Mashiach comes, that's if it comes in the bad way. But if everybody does tshuva, then it will be all nice and dandy, and that's what we want. So
It's not so likely that most people.
why we're having a tremendous amount of tshuva movement now.
But there are also many that aren't from.
Yeah, so
All the non-religious ones.
everybody's got to do their job. Got to start
But
making.
some of them are not even Jewish.
Well, that you can't do. That's already out of your realm.
Also, the whole concept where people think they could pray to a person for help, like in Christianity, they pray to Yashkan, and the Jewish sect that they sometimes pray to the Rebbe, the ones who don't know. Mashiach is not someone that people could pray to. He's
Right.
going to be just as helpless in Hashem's head. He can't help
Right.
everybody.
Right.
Hashem will be a shaliach.
One of the fundamental principles of faith is that we don't pray to anybody else other than God. And anybody that prays to a rabbi or a savior or anything else is borderlining a very, very dangerous rope that could be.
That's also how we'll know that if he's Mashiach, he's not going to say pray to me or
Yes.
do anything
Yeah.
like that.
Of course not. Yeah. Yeah.
I have one more question. Rabbis
Even humble, but
Yes.
to the point that people say, I can't help
So
you.
is that kind of praying to someone?
But Meir Balanessa's Pushka? No. There's concept of Sgulot. And there's nothing. There's certain rabbis that before they passed away, really big rabbis that they said, if you do this and this and this, I'm going to pray on your behalf. Those are not considered idolatry. Those are things that you could go and give. In fact, there's many. If you go to a synagogue, a shul, and you look at the pushkas over there, if you see let's say there's like 10 pushkas in there over there, and one of them is Rav Meir Ba'anes, that one's going to be the heaviest one.
Yeah, sure.
So.
Like, what about when someone goes to, like, let's say, Rav Chaim Kanievsky, like he's still a person, and it may be a segula, but people pin a lot of hopes on what.
So there's something known as emunat chachamim. When you're dealing with a big rabbi, and you go into a big rabbi, so your question is good. So let's say you go to the biggest rabbi of the generation. Let's say you go to Rav Chaim Kanievsky. You don't pray to Rav Chaim Kanievsky. You don't do anything, but what?
They're pinning a lot of hopes on
And that's not a problem. Yeah, because it says tzaddik gozel v'Hashem mekayem. A righteous person decrees and God answers.
But in any way, could that be able to start? No, if they're not trying anything else, but they're just relying on this person.
There's a concept in Judaism of emunat chachamim. You have to have emunat chachamim. So it's a very concept. If they go and the rabbi says this is going to happen, then you could take, and the rabbi is on the level like that, then you could take that to the bank.
That's not because he was worthy to be a messenger.
Right.
His words came true, but Hashem's the one who made him say those
Right.
words to
But
begin
you still
with.
have to try.
Of course, you have to do what you need to do. You know, and generally, when you're dealing with these certain type of people, the rabbis, if let's say somebody doesn't keep anything with Judaism, and he asks them a certain question, and the rabbi says, "I'll give you, I'll tell you, I'll pray on your behalf of this and this." They also say, "But you have to follow the Torah and this and this and this." So there's different things in it. It's a very, very open-ended question, but generally speaking, if you have a rabbi in that level says something, it's tzaddik gozel v'Hashem mekayem. Tzaddik goes and decrees, and what?
They have this sting of a scorpion and something else, like tzaddikim. It says in Pirkei Avos.
With scorpions? What do you mean?
Like their words are like the sting of a scorpion.
Oh, yeah, but we're talking about something else. We're talking about in the effect of does that work in idolatry? And that's what she's asking, right? And the effect is it idolatry? So no. And again, ultimately everything is from God. Righteous person or not, everything is from God. But a righteous person has a.
But I know that there's the concept that if someone really, like, I guess idolizes someone to an extent, like, it could be considered a desire. So if someone, like, goes to, I don't know how to describe it, but like, okay, if they go ask for bracha from Rav Chaim Kanievsky, it's one thing, but if they're going and like what that person says, like obviously if they're asking a long shayla and like it's answered, like if whatever that person says is law, could that ever be considered like
That depends on a case by case situation.
Like if you have someone who like you really look up to, and like they'll answer like those people like people are very close to Rebbe, and like it's very like I'm not saying it's whatever. Sometimes I wonder because like that person.
Well, you're asking a very broad question, and I see where
scared like it's gonna be.
I see where you could go with that. 99% of the time it doesn't happen, but it depends on the situation that you're going. And generally, the way that the rabbis answer, it doesn't happen that way. That it turns into idolatry when you go to a rabbi and you ask him a question, you ask him for these certain things. I hear what you're asking, but generally it's not. But if you give me a particular situation, I will be able to answer it more particular, and you'll see that it doesn't work that way. Any other questions? No? Okay.